NFL fans, welcome back to another episode of the J All Day Show. I'm excited to bring you guys my power rankings for Week 9. There's a lot of changes. Some teams are skyrocketing up and other teams are plummeting, like the Dallas Cowboys. But listen, I'm only 24 subscribers away from 10,000. I really appreciate you guys tuning into my content and supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Let's get into these Week 9 power rankings. Let's see where my Eagles fall. All right, let's get into it. All right, NFL fans, if you take a look at the screen right now, here is how the tier lists are going to be broken down. I have two teams that fall into the 31 and 32 slot, and then there's 5 teams in each of the other categories, right? So we're going to start with the worst team in the NFL, and I think it's pretty unanimous to think who this worst team is, and it's none other than the Carolina Panthers, right? Bryce Young continues to throw interceptions. He's just not a very talented guy, right? He's just small. He doesn't read defenses particularly well, and he doesn't have a ton of weapons around him. Surprisingly, the offensive line has been okay in Carolina, but I don't think he's the future there. I think it's probably better for him to get a new start somewhere else, like a Sam Darnold type of situation. I like Xavier Legette. He's pretty good. The defense is not bad, but they've been riddled with injuries, led by Derek Brown, one of their best defensive linemen. I mean, the Panthers are trash. They're probably going to get the number 1 pick. All right, coming in at 31. Not much better, guys. They're not much better. It's the Tennessee Titans, man. Will Levis has continued to disappoint. Mason Rudolph is just as bad, if not worse. We've seen him do a bunch of really dumb things in that game last week versus the Lions. Actually, the first quarter was a pretty close game, back and forth. Both teams scoring touchdowns. Then the special teams of the Lions really took over that game. And then the running game and Jared Goff did the rest. I think he only threw like 15 passes in that game. But they got a big game this week coming up against the Packers. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, 32-31, we got the Panthers and the Titans. All right, now we're going to start with number 30 and work our way to 26. Coming in at 30 for me is just a completely dysfunctional team. That's the Raiders, right? They have no real trajectory of who they are, who they want to be, where they want to go. I think the coach gets fired. I think Gardner Minshew is gone after this year. Did he sign a 2-year deal? I hope not. Yikes. Aiden O'Connell actually looked okay, but then he got hurt. And then Devontae Adams obviously got traded to the Jets. He hasn't been any good anyway. Maybe he's cooked, right? But I do like Brock Bowers. He's one of my favorite players from this year's past draft. He's a very talented guy. Max Crosby, I like his juice. I like the tenacity that he brings to a defense. Will he stay with the Raiders or will he get traded? I think the Raiders need to blow it up, start over. So what I would do is trade Max Crosby. If you can get a 1, a 2, and a 3 for him or some sort of crazy package, I'd do it in my opinion. I like the Raiders coming in at the number 30 spot. Next up is the Giants, right? They lost a pretty tough game last night. I was surprised how good the Giants played in that game. But Daniel Jones continues to be not very good at football, right? So the Giants are coming in at number 29 for me. Letting go of Saquon Barkley was a huge mistake. Letting go of Xavier McKinney over to the Packers, the safety, another huge mistake. Letting a guy like Saquon walk to sign a bunch of offensive linemen that are just mediocre at best. I do like Tyron Tracy. He's really come into his own, the rookie, this year. Devin Singletary is just okay. I love Malik Neighbors. But the offensive line's not very good. The D-line with Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns are pretty good, but the secondary is just so bad that teams just get the ball out quick and kind of mitigate the pass rush the best they can. The coaching situation is just not very good. They need to, really kind of think about where this roster goes moving forward. I think they got to cut ties with Daniel Jones. We'll see how that goes because the cap situation's not great, right? Okay, the Giants are at 29. Let's go on to 28. That's the New England Patriots coming off a big dub. Aaron Rodgers, man, what a joke Aaron Rodgers and this Jets team is. But back to the Patriots. Jacoby Brissett came in the second quarter when Drake May got that concussion, and Drake May has actually looked really, really good. I'm very impressed with him, considering they have a Cheeks offensive line, not a lot of good weapons on the outside. So I expect the Patriots to draft in the top 5 and take one of these, like Teterow, McMillan, or whatever his name is. I think that's his name. Early in the draft, they got to get one of these stud wide receivers. The wide receiver class is not as good as it was last year, but there's some serviceable guys that could be potential number 1 wide receivers. I like the Patriots coming in at 28. Next for me, even though they came up with a big win last week, is the Cleveland Browns. The offensive line is in shambles. They have no wide receivers that are really any good at all whatsoever. They might blow up the defense for draft picks. The Deshaun Watson situation has been a disaster. Jameis Winston looked pretty good last week. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm impressed with his performance against the Ravens. The Ravens defense is not very good at all. They fall in my power rankings this week. You got to stick around to see where I actually place them. But the Browns coming in at 27 seems about right. They're just a below average team, right? They're going to be drafting in the top 10 probably, in my opinion. I think the magic of Jameis Winston will start to wear off once teams kind of study what they've been doing and how he functions in this offense, right? So they come in at number 27, and the last team in this tier, it's the Jets, man. The defense has been underperforming. The coaching staff is a joke, right? I mean, they don't have guys that can call plays well. The head coach who's took over for Robert Saleh is worse than Robert Saleh is. But Robert Saleh was able to accomplish what Zach Wilson at the quarterback position last year was pretty remarkable, right? So, and that team is better than this team with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Davante Adams has been a complete non-factor at all whatsoever. This offense has no identity. To have this much talent and to be this bad, it's pretty remarkable. They've lost 5 games in a row. Kind of blows my mind. I think Aaron Rodgers ruined the culture there. The offense is stagnant. They're running an offense from the 1990s. No motion, no pre-snap movement. It's really bad. A lot of penalties. They just are not playing as a cohesive unit. There's a bunch of good players, but they're all playing their own game. They're not playing as a team. That's why they end this tier for me at number 26. Number 25 is the Saints. The Saints have been destroyed by injuries, right? Derek Carr, Raheem Shaheed, Ramczyk, the right tackle. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But Kamara's having a pretty good year. Looks like Derek Carr is going to come back. No more Spencer Rattler, which is going to improve this team. They looked pretty good the first few weeks. Then the injuries really started to pile up and pile up and pile up. That's why we find them at number 25 in my rankings. I don't think their head coach, Dennis Allen, is very good. And let's be honest, the Saints are a dirtbag franchise. They tried to hurt the Eagles players. They tried to hurt Justin Herbert. That D lineman was like twisting his ankle well after he threw the ball already, which is just a scumbag move. I think the Saints are a scumbag organization, man. They're dirty. They're cheap shot artists. I really, really do not like the Saints organization. And that starts with the head coach, man. He's really got to nip that in the butt. I think they're a bunch of scumbags. They come in at number 25. Sorry, Saints fans. I'm just calling it like I see it. All right, then we move on to number 24 right now. This is kind of a toss-up between a few teams. But for me, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins at number 24. I mean, even with Tua coming back, they still lost again to a mediocre Arizona Cardinals team, right? The defense is mediocre at best. The offensive line is underperforming. The run game was pretty good last week, but the Arizona Cardinals defense isn't very good. For them not to beat and torch this Arizona Cardinals defense just shows me where they're at right now. I don't know what's going on with Waddle and Tyreek Hill, but they just look very unspirited as a team right now, in my opinion. That's why the Dolphins are coming in at 24 for me. Next up, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys coming in at number 23. It's neck and neck between these two teams, the Dallas Cowboys and the Bengals. I'm going to talk about both of these two teams together. So, the Dallas Cowboys are a little bit worse because that defense, second worst defense in the NFL. I know they've had a ton of injuries, right? But the way this franchise was constructed by Jerry Jones leaves a lot to be desired. Paying Dak Prescott all this money to be mediocre makes no sense to me from a team building perspective, right? They don't have a lot of depth at the wide receiver position, no depth at all at the running back position. I just don't like the way this team is constructed. Micah Parsons should be back soon, but we'll have to see how that plays out. The defense has been horrible. Even when Lawrence and Parsons were there, they were still really bad. Now, I like the Bengals a little bit more because I like that offense a little bit more with T. Higgins, who can't stay healthy, and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. The offensive line has like nobody with over like a 60 grade on it, so it's not very good. And that defense, especially the run defense, has been awful. The Eagles blew them out last week. Just not a good overall performance by the team. And the Eagles did a good job kind of mitigating the offense. When you don't have T. Higgins there, you can kind of rotate your defense over to Jamar Chase and shadow him and make the tight end or someone else beat you. And letting go Joe Mixon was a huge deal. Chase Brown has not been very good in my opinion. So next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars wrapping up this tier. Again, the secondary is not very good. Trevor Lawrence is getting paid like a top-notch quarterback, but he's not. I do like Bigsby and NTN, the running backs there. Brian Thomas Jr. is having an excellent rookie year. Definitely a guy I really like coming out of LSU. Very, very productive. I'm not a big Gabe Davis guy. I would have kept Calvin Ridley and let Gabe Davis do Gabe Davis things somewhere else. But Evan Ingram's very talented. Christian Kirk just got hurt, which is a huge loss for them. I don't really love that. Hines Allen is a great D lineman, but outside of that, the defense is just mediocre at best. That's why they find themselves at number 21 in my power rankings. Now, let's move up to the top 20 in the NFL. We're going to start this list off with the Colts, right? Anthony Richardson has not been very good at all whatsoever, right? So the Colts are going to come in at 20. His performance, 10 for 32 last week. If the Colts want to have a chance at making the playoffs, they got to just bring Old Man Joe. Old Man Joe, and I'm not talking about Joe Biden, I'm talking about Joe Flacco. He'll get us some wins. He can give these wide receivers a chance to make plays. Adonai Mitchell, Downs, Michael Pittman, they have good wide receivers, right? And with Jonathan Taylor, they have a formidable offense. An okay to above average offensive line there. The defense has been really bad. But Anthony Richardson has been awful. His touchdown to interception ratio has not been good. That performance last week, him tapping out of the game, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of Anthony Richardson's game. I don't think he's very good. Next up is the Chicago Bears. Talent-wise, they could be higher than this. But the coaching staff, Eberflus and Shane Waldron, are really holding back this team, in my opinion. That whole situation at the 1-yard line, let's hand the ball off at the 1-yard line with the game on the line to a backup offensive lineman, filling in, whatever you want to call it, at the fullback position. Let's hand the ball off to a fat white offensive lineman who can't even start on the O-line. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. I don't know who called that play. Was it Waldron? Was it Eberflus? But the coaching is really, really bad. Caleb Williams looks lost. And the coaches aren't doing a good job putting him in position to make plays, in my opinion. The offensive line has not been great, but with those weapons, they got to be better. They just got to be better. The Bears come in at 19. Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks. They're falling down my list because you don't know what team we're getting. They really missed DK Metcalf last week. We saw that as they got blown out by the Buffalo Bills. But one week they look pretty good. The next week they look like complete cheeks. I don't know who they are. I'm not a big Geno Smith believer. That's why I'm having Seattle come in at number 18. Next up on my list is the Arizona Cardinals. Right in the middle of the pack right now. They're coming in at 2019, 18, 17 for the Arizona Cardinals. I really love this offense. Trey McBride, James Conner's a very tough runner. Trey Benson, the rookie, is really, really talented too. Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray had over 300 yards passing. Him and Trey McBride. Trey McBride might be the best tight end in the NFL. The dude's an absolute savage. But the offensive line outside of Paris Johnson is, leaves a lot to be desired. And the defense, to me, is just not very good. I like Budda Baker. He's a great player. But the defense has not been very good this year, in my opinion. So that's why they fall to 17 in this power ranking. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and this tier. Chris Godwin looks like he's done for the year. That's a huge loss, right? We'll see if Jalen McMillan can fill in that role opposite Mike Evans once he gets healthy, right? It's a shame they got to play the Chiefs this week without their two top wide receivers, because that game would have been a lot of fun to watch. And I thought the Buccaneers had a serious shot at winning this game if they had Mike Evans and Godwin. They do not. Baker Mayfield was okay last week. He had 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 more interceptions. He continues to turn the ball over at a very high rate. But the defense has just been okay. That's why they're a middle of the pack, mediocre team. The Buccaneers, I think they're 4-4 right now, so that's where I have them. Starting this tier in the top 15 is the Chargers, right? A defense that's playing really well, playing Jim Harbaugh football, right? We want to run the ball down the other team's throat, be opportunistic with our passing game. That's exactly what they've been doing. Ladd McConkey is really emerging as that true number 1 wide receiver. A Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman type guy who can come out of the slot and be a number 1 wide receiver and be a number 1 option in an offense. Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. He used his legs a lot this past week to get a victory. I like Justin Herbert, and I do think they have a chance, if everything goes well, to be in the playoff hunt when the season comes to an end. The Chargers make my top 15, coming at number 15. Coming in at number 14 is the LA Rams. They've underperformed without their superstars, right? But we saw in that victory over the Vikings just how good Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are. They're just so incredibly dynamic. The defense is coming along as well. But with Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Matt Stafford, they could put that offense up against any defense in the NFL and be successful. We could see the Rams with another win this victory come into our top 10. And I think they're the team to beat in the NFC West, in my opinion. Look for the Rams to continue to climb in my power rankings. After this week, they come in at number 14. Next up, it's a toss-up between those two teams, is the San Francisco 49ers, right? The defense has been underperforming, in my opinion. Fred Warner and Bosa are the heart and soul and lifeblood of that defense. Everyone else dramatically underperforming, right? No Brandon Ayuk for the rest of the year. Luckily for the 49ers, they got Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings once he gets healthy, and Deebo Samuel, who's been dealing with a ton of different little injuries and pneumonia. It's been a weird situation. And it looks like Christian McCaffrey could be coming back sooner rather than later. So we'll have to see how that situation plays out. The 49ers come in at 13. Number 12, Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, right? Kirk Cousins is doing a great job. He got 4 touchdowns, no interceptions again last week. We need a little more consistency out of the Falcons, but Kirk Cousins has been doing a really good job spreading the ball out, getting Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson involved in this offense opposite of guys like Mooney, right, and Drake London. I like this offense. I think they could be very successful and make a run in the playoffs if the defense can step up and start to be a more formidable unit. I really like the Falcons coming in at number 12 in my power rankings, right? And then next up is the Denver Broncos. It might surprise some people that I have them this high, but they're playing really good defense, and Bo Nix is emerging as a steal in this draft. I'm very, very happy with what I'm seeing from Bo Nix. He's a little bit older, a little bit more mature than some of these other rookie quarterbacks. That's why I liked him. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He can do some things with his legs. He's very athletic. He can fit balls, into tough windows. I like myself some Bo Nix, man. The defense has been really, really tough. Really, really tough. Sean Payton brings a toughness and a grit to a football team, and we're really seeing that. And I think the Broncos have a chance to make the playoffs as well, coming in at number 11. All right, now we move on to my top 10, and the Ravens fall down to number 10. That was an embarrassing performance, losing to the Browns. No wide receivers. Nick Chubb is a shell of himself. A defense that's, been underachieving, but they're okay, right? But the Ravens defense has been an abomination this year. An absolute dumpster fire. The offense is going to do what they do. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, but they need another receiver to step up. Aguilar and Bateman are not those dudes. They both had very costly drops in this game. They need more depth at the wide receiver position, right? Mark Andrews and Likely are good tight end spots. They're like not elite tight ends. They're good, but they're not great. If they want to win championships, they need to get some more pieces on offense, in my opinion. And the defense has been a dumpster fire. They let a lot of free agents walk in free agency this past offseason, and that's really kind of biting them in the ass right now. That's why the Ravens are at number 10. Coming in at number 9 is my Philadelphia Eagles. Great performance last week. A lot of Eagles fans are getting a little overzealous right now. Listen, they played good the last 3 weeks, but they played the Giants, the Browns, and the Bengals. They're 6-16 this year. They're not the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Packers, right? They're not, even though the Eagles have a win over the Packers, that was the first week of the year. You got to flush that. Jalen Hurts, if he does not turn the ball over, can be an effective quarterback in this league. I'm happy with what Jalen Hurts is doing. That offense is dynamic. It's just one of the better offenses. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert when he's healthy. Good offensive line. Jordan Mailata should be coming back in the next few weeks. Lane Johnson's the best right tackle in the NFL. But the defense, in my opinion, is not a great unit. Cooper DeJean is really helping out that unit, and Quinyon Mitchell, the rookies. But the linebacker position, the safety positions, even the D-line, the linebackers are atrocious. I don't love the Eagles' defense. I think when they play some of these high-powered offenses, they're really going to get exposed. But right now, they're coming in at number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming in at number 8 is the Minnesota Vikings, guys. The Vikings had a big-time loss to the Rams last week. They've lost 2 in a row. They're starting to fall down my power rankings a little bit. We'll see if they can stay in the top 10. They need to get a win this week. Desperately. They can't lose 3 in a row because then they're going to fall out of my top 10. Vikings barely holding on to a top 10 spot right now. Next up is the Texans, right? I think they're 6-2 on the year. The offensive line has been underperforming. The secondary needs a little bit of work. But with C.J. Stroud, his ability to win games is just second to none. I like C.J. Stroud. We got to keep an eye on this team moving forward too. I think a lot of these top 10 teams are interchangeable with teams like the Rams and the Broncos nipping at their heels very, very soon. Coming up next at number 6 is the Green Bay Packers, right? Another big win last week. Was over the Jaguars, but they continue to win games. Jordan Love needs to stop the turnovers a little bit. They have the most opportunistic defense in the NFL. They just get turnovers after turnovers after turnovers. It's quite remarkable to watch. They do give up some yards, though. So I think the top 15 in the NFL, you could kind of plug and play, do a slide puzzle with all these teams. This is just how I see it right now. Now let's move on to the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Another big win last night on Monday Night Football. They beat the lowly Giants. Russell Wilson looks good. Good Russell Wilson. Him and Pickens have a very, very good relationship right now. And I'm excited to see the Steelers move forward. The defense got a little shredded by the run game last week against the Giants. That's a little concerning for me. Something we have to keep an eye on moving forward. Is that how you attack the Steelers defense? By running against them? Because Tyron Tracy absolutely balled out. All right, next up, coming in at number 4 is the Buffalo Bills. You got to like what the Bills are doing, man. They blew out the Seahawks on the road. Josh Allen has been pretty much perfect all year long. James Cook, adding Amari Cooper. The defense is getting better and better each week as well. I think the defense is something we have to watch moving forward and see if they can hold up. Because this offense looks pretty good right now. I like the depth there. Keon Coleman. I love myself some James Cook. I like the addition of Amari Cooper. Khalil Shakir, I like it. Coming in at number 3 is the Washington Commanders. Number 1. Who's number 1? Who's number 1? Chiefs. Lions. Chiefs. Lions. I'm sticking with the Lions. Chiefs number 2. Lions number 1, guys. That's my power rankings. The Commanders with that big win on that Hail Mary. Crazy. Crazy. Dan Quinn's getting the most out of this mediocre defense. Kingsbury's doing a great job with Jaden Daniels. The Chiefs have been playing mediocre, but they keep winning games. And the Lions, to me, are the team to beat in the NFL right now. There's my power rankings, guys. Check it out on the screen. We got the Lions at number 1, Packers number 6, Broncos at 11, Buccaneers at 16, Jags 21, Jets 26. The bottom, Panthers, Titans. My top 5. Lions, Chiefs, Commanders, Bills, Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Only 24 more subs. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you're interested in getting early access to my content, you just want to support me and the channel, or you want to get my bets every single Friday, make sure you check out my memberships. I have a 99-cent tier just to support the channel, and for $4.99 a month, you get early access to all my videos, a bunch of exclusive member content like my bets each and every Friday. Make sure you take the time, check it out. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.